I am Liz Moore. I am the executive director with the Montana Nonprofit Association. We are similar to the Chamber in that we have about 850 members, 750 are charitable nonprofits, but they're all charitable nonprofits, not, well, except for 100 of them, not businesses. However, in the nonprofit world, once you have an employee, you are a business. You have all the same laws you have to follow, all of that. It's simply a tax-exempt status, not a business plan to be a nonprofit. Similar to you. If you don't make money, you don't stay in business. So we have three amazing women here who will introduce themselves. And I do want to say one thing is that I was talking with this woman last night, Sarah Calhoun, many of you know. And she had promised to heckle us. So you see how I handled it. I said, okay, from right here, heckle away from the stage. Okay, so we hope that you come away from this with some excitement about your own philanthropy, a sense of how to pursue personal philanthropy and business philanthropy. We think of philanthropy as a big word that may be beyond reach, but actually all of us give. And we all volunteer, you know, and so those are the ways that we are involved and engaged in philanthropy. So we'll be talking about the types of philanthropy, some gender differences in philanthropy, and increasing an understanding of the role of philanthropy in realizing the Montana we love. And so with that, I think, Amberly, let's start with you with just an introduction, and we'll come this way.
Okay, great. Thanks, Liz. Well, first of all, thank you all for taking the time to come and celebrate women with us over the course of today and tomorrow. It's so wonderful to see so many incredible women in one space. And I don't know about you, but my energy level keeps rising the more I visit with all of you and spend time here. But I'm Amberly Payhut, and I'm the Director of Corporate Responsibility and the First Interstate Bank System Foundation. Our office is headquartered in Billings, but our bank is represented throughout a 14-state footprint. When I was younger, I got my start in philanthropy working for a law office that's called today Crowley Fleck. And during that time, I spent a lot of my effort helping nonprofits become established and doing all of those, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, getting things put together in the background. And during that time, I had no idea that I was going to grow up to be a fundraiser or in philanthropy, but I met so many incredible people who just really had a passion for these incredible organizations that they were really trying to start. And so from there, I moved to Dillon, where I worked for the University of Montana Western, and I was part of the JC organization. I don't know if there's any other exhausted roosters in the house, but their motto is service to humanity is the best work of life. And that just really resonates with who I am at my core. It's very much a part of my why. And so being able to go on and raise dollars for higher education, healthcare, other boards I've served upon, and now getting to lead the philanthropic heartbeat at First Interstate Bank couldn't be more perfect for me. So I just encourage all of you to do what our speaker at lunch today said, and that's really tell people what you want. When I moved to Billings 12 years ago, the former executive director of the foundation was in this role that she served in for more than 30 years. She was a trailblazer. She created the incredible programs that we have today, but I told many people at the bank, when I grow up, I want to be her. And I really don't think this opportunity would have come to fruition had I not been vocal about that. So thanks for having me here today.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is going to be probably the most entertaining panel that you've heard from, or that you will hear from, because we like to kind of roll with the punches. So just know that. I'm Mary Rutherford, President and CEO of the Montana Community Foundation. And the Montana Community Foundation just celebrated its first 35 years of serving Montana through philanthropy. We have awarded and distributed and contributed well over $100 million to our state since our inception. I came to Montana specifically to lead the foundation. I'm a Montanan by choice, not by birth. And I spent a good part of my career, 25 years or so, in higher education fundraising and healthcare. And the thing that I love about the work that community foundations do is we're here to help people achieve their philanthropic dreams. So unlike when I was at a university, when I was trying to raise money for an endowed chair or a scholarship or a building or whatever, now we just get to work with people and helping their dreams come true. So thanks for having us.
Thanks, Mary. Well, thank you for having me, Liz. I guess I learned my lesson on heckling while drinking wine. So my name is Sarah Calhoun, and I am the founder of Red Ants Pants, which is a company manufacturing workwear for women made in America, based out of White Sulphur Springs. And after about 5 years in business, started a music festival in a cow pasture called the Red Ants Pants Music Festival, which then became the fundraiser for and biggest program of the Red Ants Pants Foundation, our 501c3. We've been very proud over the years to be able to fund our nonprofit, which does programming in the girls' leadership arena around the state. We have a grant cycle of our own, so we do award money to rural communities, as well as teaching women how to run chainsaws and do carpentry, and our newest course is trailer backing, if anyone's interested. See, yeah, I know. Yes, exactly. So I am here to share in both experiences being a grantee of said organizations as well as a grantor to rural communities. And I should mention our mission of the Red Ants Pants Foundation is supporting women's leadership, working family farms and ranches, and rural communities. So glad to be here. Thank you all.
Just a little bit about Montana's nonprofits. There are, I'm going to run quickly through some stats. There are about 11,000 tax-exempt organizations in this state. Of those, about 8,000 are charitable nonprofits or 501c3s. So you've also heard of 501c4s, very often more involved in politics. 501c6s are a lot of times associations. Then there's a kind of, like the chamber. And then there are Rotaries and things like that that also have 501c status. So out of the 8,000 approximately 501c3s, there are, if we take off 700, because Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation has all 700 of its chapters organized in Montana, then we have about 7,200. Of those 7,200, about 2,200 are employers. So that really funnels you very quickly down to the number of nonprofits that are really contributing to the economy in a significant way. Having the others be all volunteer is part of how our state gets things done. We're very, very strong in volunteerism, and like at the top of the chart. And so if you think about Little Leagues and 4-H clubs and things like that, those are the all-volunteer nonprofits. And then there are only about 800 nonprofits in the state that have budgets of over $1 million. Isn't that amazing? So the nonprofit employers employ about 55,000 Montanans. Even when you take hospital systems out, there are about 30,000 employees. So food banks, I'm an employee of a nonprofit. Mary's an employee of a nonprofit. Well, Amberly too with the foundation. And yeah, so there are, and that contributes about $2.6 billion in wages to the economy. All told, nonprofits contribute a little over $11 billion to Montana's economy, at least as of 2021. Are there too many nonprofits? People sometimes wonder. I say the market kind of takes care of it. You know, I don't mean to be hard-hearted, but sometimes nonprofits go out, and sometimes nonprofits merge, all those kinds of things. And so just it kind of takes care of itself. It's part of our way of doing democracy. It's a sector that really represents the will of the people, because it's how we get the quality of life we want for not only ourselves, but for people around us. So philanthropy is a huge part of nonprofits. A lot of nonprofits have earned income, especially the larger ones. You know, they're working in partnership with government, working at, like arts organizations often have ticket sales, you know, things like that. And but we also rely on philanthropy to a large degree. So now I will stop and talk and ask Amberly just a little bit about describing how participating in philanthropy as a business, like what is the benefit to employees and to your business?
Sure. Thanks, Liz. Well, there's an incredible amount of benefit. So across the United States, corporations donate between $20 and $26 billion a year. And when we survey workers across the U.S., 71% say that their decision on where they decide to work sometimes really centers around how their company is involved and engaged in philanthropy or giving back to their communities. And I really feel like First Interstate is a leader in this space. This all started many years ago with our founding family. And Homer Scott truly believed that we were only strong as a community and as a company as our weakest link. And so over time, in our industry, banks are supposed to give back. There's a legal requirement through CRA. But I think what differentiates First Interstate and many other companies is that we really do it because it's the right thing to do. And when that becomes one of your core company values, and people first is another one of your core company values, when you marry those two things, it really creates kind of this secret sauce. And I have a group of colleagues sitting in the back today, and although my team, we live in Billings, and we are the quarterbacks for commitment to community, it's really all of our employees that live out that value day in and day out. And there's a tremendous amount of value in that, both for what they receive in personal satisfaction. They're connected to things outside of the workplace that tug at their heartstrings in a different way. It gives them an opportunity to come alongside their colleagues and learn more about them outside of the workspace. The other things that are great is volunteerism and philanthropy also impact your own personal health and wellness in a positive way. And then, of course, on the company side, there's a lot of benefit in company image, brand management, retention, attraction, and all of those types of things.
Sarah, you might have a couple of things to say about that as well, but I wonder, Mary, if you can speak for a minute, the last thing that Amberly said, or the second to the last thing, about the benefit for individuals, because I know you see that transformation as you ask people to give.
Sure. So there's actually a whole body of research about giving and how the giving and the gift impacts our lives. And Amberly kind of alluded to that. The Lilly School of Philanthropy at Indiana University actually has a whole division that does research and findings about women in philanthropy. And so I looked at some of their statistics, and we know that a person's life satisfaction significantly increases when their giving increases as a percentage of their income. So people who give are happier, healthier. There's a lot of interesting things about women giving and men giving. But I would say, reasons people give, what motivates people to give, they love an organization. They love or are deeply committed to the work that is being done by that organization. They've been served by that organization, or they've had a family member who's been served by that organization. Some people give because they believe that that is their duty as being a person on this planet who has means to aid others. Some people give because they want to see their name splashed on a building or in a physical place, and so some of it is ego, and most of those are men, by the way. Yes, you heard me. And then kind of one of the last reasons people give, but it is a factor, is the financial implications of giving. And in Montana, we have an incredible tax credit for charitable giving, endowed charitable giving. And so businesses and individuals can make gifts to qualified endowments and take a state tax credit. And then there's also, depending on whether or not you itemize, there's a benefit on your federal taxes as well. But taxes, frankly, are not the driving force for giving, but they do come into the equation for people.
Yeah. And I'll just add on to that. I think what we've seen with the music festival is it takes 250 volunteers every year to pull it off, about 112 staff, most of whom are not paid. They're volunteering their time. And it takes a lot of grit to go work in a hot, dusty cow pasture for a week in the sun. And people are doing it because they want to be part of something worthwhile. And that is something I think that is not worth overstating, that perhaps we're missing in our culture right now, that giving and being part of something, and it doesn't have to be a lot. It can be your time, it can be your service on a board. It doesn't necessarily have to be a big chunk of change.
So I wonder, Sarah, can you speak to what prompted you to think about philanthropy in a small rural community and how that really has been catalytic for White Sulphur?
Yes, so honestly, a lot of it was the cart before the horse starting the music festival. I did not have a grand strategic plan whatsoever. I really didn't know what I was getting into. But with starting a festival the first year back in 2011, we thought we might make some money and let's give it away if we make it. And then I looked at other nonprofits and I was like, oh, none of these exactly fit to what I love, so let's just start a 501c3, another realm I had no experience in whatsoever. And with that, we started our first grant cycle. So we've gifted over $160,000 to different communities across the state, everything from welding programs for women at the Gallatin Community College to we funded a mule for the women-owned Dropstone Outfitting out of Shodo. They were the only women-owned group in the Bob Marshall. They also named their mule Calhoun, I have to note for the record, so I can retire now. But there's even if it's a $500 grant or a $5,000 grant, like it doesn't have to be a lot of money. Giving away money is so much fun, and especially in these rural communities, it goes really, really far. And sometimes just having someone else believe in you to do a project, to get your application, selected, it really goes a long way, way more than just the dollars. So that's been really, really fun, and we certainly focus on rural because there's obviously not a lot of trickle down from other areas, and we really put our focus in that area.
So Mary, I wonder if, I know you have information on women in giving. Can you give us a little bit more on that and the whispered comment about names on buildings?
Yes.
Thank you.
You can tell how old I am because I have paper and I've written words on the paper. I don't have an electronic device because I couldn't even see it if I did. So bear with me. And I was really hopeful we were going to have a little table in front of us so, I could hide behind it, but no such luck. So just to give you some perspective, giving in America, the most recent year it was measured, was $499 billion was given to charity in 2022. Of that, 64% came from living individuals. When you add gifts that came from estates, people who die, because we're all going to die, that number is close to 90% of charitable giving in America is made by individual people. In Montana, we just completed a study a couple of years ago that tells us this incredible transfer of wealth that's occurring in our state is estimated to be $37 billion over a 10-year period that's going to pass from one generation to the next. We know in America, women control 1/3 of household financial assets, which is getting close to 10 trillion with a T dollars, and it's estimated that by 2030, American women will control a good portion, a majority of that transfer, and that number is close to the whole country's GDP today. So philanthropy, financial assets in the hands of women are powerful and are really big, staggering numbers. Two more points, and then I'll turn it back to you, Liz. Women give based on empathy for others and care for what they want to see in the world. The research shows that men give based on their self-interests. And I'm really boiling it down to like two data points, and you can read all kinds of research if you're interested in geeking out like I am, and I'd be happy to point you in some directions of the data.
So Amberly, when we were getting ready for this session, you talked about women using giving or engaging in giving in ways that build community. Can you say a little bit about that?
You bet. Well, I think that there is strength when people come together. And as Sarah mentioned earlier, we all want to be part of something that's bigger than ourselves. And when I look around the state, like in Billings, in the course of the last couple of years, through the Montana Community Foundation, our community created a group called 100 Strong. So we have 100 women from the community who come together. They each pool $400 a year, and then they come together quarterly and go through grant applications and then come together as a group to determine who's going to be the recipients of that fund. And it is so powerful and so cool because when you think about it, you know, $1 million gifts make the headlines. That's what you see in the newspaper. But every gift truly counts. It matters and it makes a difference. And just take a minute to pause and think about your circle of influence and the people that you love and you care about in your life. I have this group of incredibly wild, fun, sophisticated, incredible women in Billings. We have named ourselves the Funsters, and we are known for getting a little out of control at times. But at the end of the day, we are truly a group of women who rally around one another to lift each other up. And there's not one person in that group. We all have very different interests and things we're passionate about and causes. But because we all love each other so much, we all show up in droves to help the other one lift their cause up and see it succeed. And so there's tremendous power in that. So don't be afraid to grab your girlfriend by the hand and take her along with you and bring together for awareness and raising money and volunteerism for something you love and care about.
Can you speak to FIB's matching program? Like if employees give, that makes...
Yeah. We have like the best program ever. So the First Interstate Foundation, we have 2 matching programs. And so every employee, once they've achieved 90 days of service, they are allotted a $5,000 match. And they can utilize that to either match dollar for something that they are writing their own personal check or giving their personal assets towards. And then we also will pay $10 an hour to a nonprofit organization for their service. And there's many companies that may have volunteer time off opportunities for their employees, and we actually don't have that at the bank because we are so community focused and community minded that it's really up to our employees to work one-on-one with their leader. In the last year, we also changed our policy because we were finding that not everyone could utilize their dollar match with inflation and different things. And so we had some caps on our volunteer time and how much of your match you could use towards that. And we eliminated all of those thresholds because we wanted to be inclusive and give everyone the opportunity to have that match, whether they were volunteering their time, treasure, or talent. And then the other element is we have a Neighbors Feeding Neighbors program. So in the third quarter every year, hunger is one of our top priorities as a company. And so we offer traditionally a double match. In the last 2 years, with what we've learned about and the increase in hunger in our communities, we've elevated that to a triple match. So we have employees in Western Montana who've utilized their entire $5,000 match for Neighbors Feeding Neighbors programs. So in one of our communities, we then matched that at $15,000, which when you think about the impact of that, so we funded a whole school district backpack program through one employee's gift. And so the power of philanthropy is amazing. It's just absolutely incredible.
Thanks, Amberly.
Thank you.
I wonder, Mary or Sarah, can you speak to, I just kind of saw it with Amberly. Can you speak just a little bit to the passion of giving? Like, Mary, I read your newsletters, and I know how excited you are when you're able to make a significant difference in some way. Can you speak a little bit to that? And then, Sarah, I'll ask you the same thing.
Sure. I think that for our organization and for me, sending the money out the door, of course, is very important. And I think maybe equally or maybe even slightly more important to us is working with the people who make that possible. And, you know, there are countless stories of the married couple rancher family who had no children, and they're planning succession for the farm and ranch, or he has charitable interests that don't align with her charitable interests, and how you navigate helping them do the things that are important to them, and the ways that we can help them do that, where when you're talking about a 7 or 8 figure ranch, you're talking about a lot of money, and you're talking about a lot of family history, especially when families aren't staying, in some cases, on those ranches anymore, and they're being sold for development purposes or what have you. And so for me, our newsletter is chock full of the grants that we make and, the gifts that have come in, the memorial gifts and those things, but it's sitting across the kitchen table with someone whose child completed suicide, and they want to find a way to honor that child for the rest of the parents' lives and beyond by creating something that benefits another child that's struggling. So for me, that's what the joy in the work is. It's, the money is phenomenal. The money enables organizations to do amazing things. But for me, it's helping the people who've, in many cases, worked their ass, I don't know if I'm supposed to cuss, but who've worked really hard for generations and bootstrapped their lives and lived very modestly to find themselves in a whole new financial position. So that's where the joy for me comes in.
And I've seen that. And besides the story about Calhoun's ass, the donkey, do you have, how about you, Sarah?
Thanks, Liz. Oh man, so I love that. Thank you. Both those are great stories. Our gifts are certainly a lot smaller, like up to, I think 5,000 is the most we have done. This year we're actually going to do what we're calling the Golden Ant Grant, which is something you cannot apply for. We're using this whole Mackenzie Scott model of just seeing an organization doing really good work and giving a bigger sum, which is very exciting. We might have a big check at the festival this year, which is a whole new world for us. But I think, looking at, we have, I think, 114 grantees all over the state, and it's, looking at the tiny little community senior center in rural Montana that literally have 40 people living there, and they just want to replace the windows, and they don't know how to write grants, and they don't even know how to turn on their computers sometimes. And in addition to the checks, what we are starting to really do, we just did a big rural needs assessment of trying to see what in the communities, in addition to the money, what is needed. Is it grant writing? Is it facilitator training? Is it just access to finding out this network of where the money is? And because in Bozeman and Missoula, you do know where the money is, but in Shawmut, you don't. And also up in Jordan, and we've given a lot to Eastern Montana, and it's spreading that network quite a bit further, and offering those resources and our social capital network, and really making it accessible to more. Yeah.
Liz, can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
So just about 2 years ago at First Interstate, we started a new philanthropy program, and it's called Believe in Local. And as our bank has continued to grow, the Scott family that I alluded to earlier, they've moved away from leading the bank. And so there was a very large gift made to our foundation in their honor. And so I had been in my job for a month and was tasked with a way to honor their legacy. And that's where Believe in Local was born. So it's entirely employee driven, which is absolutely incredible. So we give $40,000, $25,000 gifts across our 14-state footprint. So it's each of our markets receives one. But all of our employees have the opportunity to nominate one organization each year. And then the process is kept quiet while other employees who aren't eligible to nominate anyone that year decide who the recipients will be. And then I don't know if anyone in here remembers Ed McMahon in Publishers Clearinghouse, but it's built very much like that. The employee doesn't find out until about a week or so that their organization has been selected. And then they have to bamboozle the organization to have them come together so we can surprise them with their $25,000 gift. And I think the best part of this, like whenever I make those calls, it's awesome because there's always screaming or something on the other end of the line by the employee. But Most recently, one of our employees said, "This is absolutely so amazing because not only do I work for a place that believes and loves our community, but they also believe in us and honor what we believe and love in." So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that from the nonprofit perspective as you were talking, that like a $500 gift, or I'm in a book group and we read a book a month and then we write little checks and decide based on the book who we're going to send it to. So it's only, it's like a couple $100 at most, but the organization getting it, what they hear is you are valued. And how handy for my book group that I'm in the book group. Because I'm like, oh, there's a group in Billings that does refugee stuff. We could do that. But it means a lot to nonprofits. It's not so much about the amount, and you're right about rural nonprofits especially. And I want to mention, we're going to do a little exercise together, not physical, okay? But, yeah. Rural Montanans are more outside of what you'd call the circle of opportunity and very often don't know how to write grants. We did a survey last fall, and like rural organizations, first of all, they have, a third of the income, if that, of more metropolitan, if you will, organizations. And then when they are asked to talk about the complexity of grants and contracts, it has to do with the complexity of writing the grant and reporting on the grant, which means there just is less skill. So I think for you, in whatever position you're in, if you can volunteer in that way on a board or as a volunteer to write a grant or to mentor somebody in writing a grant, if you're living in Bozeman and you came from Winifred, there was a Winifred person earlier, you can help somebody in Winifred write a grant, and you're giving back to your home community. So we're going to just do a little exercise, and what I'd like to ask you to do is spend a couple of minutes. I wish I had music. Where's our music guy? But we don't want it to be like pop-ish, too rowdy. We want it to be kind of meditative and philanthropic. So it'll be jazz, pennies from heaven. Okay, what I'd like you to do is envision for yourself a cause that matters to you. And it could be hunger, it could be animals, it could be trails, anything like that. Envision a cause and try to tuck into yourself a little bit and not judge. It should be hunger, but it's actually art. Don't judge that. Just go with what means something to you in your life or your children's lives or your family's lives, okay? And spend a couple of minutes on that, and then we'll take it a step further. Did it? Yeah. Can't you feel the philanthropic vibe?
We're all going for massages after this.
If we're awake. If you've kind of thought about the cause, now think about who you know, what nonprofit you may know, or an effort you know that is moving toward that cause. So a humane society, a zoo, a museum, an orchestra, food bank. It's so cool to know that probably most of you are thinking maybe about massage, but also that you're thinking about a mission in some corner, probably of Montana, that makes life better. So what I'd like you to do, we'll turn the music down just a little bit. I'd like you to share at your table this. What makes that cause important to you? And each just take a minute, because some of you have quite a few at the table. Take a minute and speak to what makes that cause important to you. Make sure everyone has time to say something. Go ahead. Okay, and we'll take a couple more minutes, so make sure everyone at the table has a chance. One more minute. Okay, has everyone had a chance? Do you need 30 more seconds at your table? Anyone? I know, we need a tissue, I know. Okay. So it was wonderful watching the room just become soft and kind of warm as people shared like what's important to them. And that's what philanthropy, that's the heart of philanthropy. So we'll have time for each person here to make a closing comment. But before we do you have any questions for these amazing people? Yes. Can I run with that? Okay. Really, if you, like word of mouth, just like business, word of mouth to see where's a good place to work. And you know, you kind of the reputation in the community. Also, there's a website called GuideStar. It's a partnership between the IRS and somebody. But nonprofits all have to submit a tax return. And on that tax return, it talks about what the programs are about, how the money is spent, and all that. So always you can check GuideStar to see the reputation, but also in your community. I can't tell you how many boards say we can't find board members, and how many young people are saying we can't find a seat at the table. So ask someone you know how they do it in an organization that is aligned with you, and go for it. And if you need any assistance with that, call Montana Nonprofit Association. Okay, anybody else? Okay, another question. There was one here somewhere.
So Mary alluded to Indiana's Lilly family. Thank you. Full of philanthropy. Will you mention a few of the studies that tie direct link between philanthropy and physical health and personal well-being?
Yeah, you can go out to the Indiana University website, and it's the Lilly School of Philanthropy, and they have a ton of published research on charitable giving and links to personal benefit. I got my master's degree in philanthropic studies from that school, and I'll never forget the economists labeled it the warm glow that a person gets from charitable giving. But there's a whole bunch of studies about that. So yeah, sure.
It's your chance to stump the chumps here. Yes.
I'm wondering if Sarah would be willing to share the role assessment that Renaissance Foundation completed.
Absolutely, yes.
Maybe we can send that to Candace? Is that what you, do you have it?
We can do that. I don't have it on me. But I will.
What? We asked you last night. It's not like you didn't have time.
Yes, absolutely.
Hello. Okay.
Or just email directly Sarah@renaissancepants.com.
Okay. Closing comments.
Amberly, we'll start with you and come this way.
Just thank you all so much for your time today, and take the conversations that you had with those around your table and think about how you want to ignite that passion in your own community and become more deeply involved in the things that you love and care about.
We use the word philanthropy, and that word can be intimidating to people. And it really can be broken down to just showing up and being a good neighbor and finding the thing that you love and care about and getting involved and giving. We also know that the wealth that women have in America and are going to have in Montana, the other point I was going to make earlier was, you know, we outlast the men. We live longer than the men. The money ends up with us. We make the decisions. And even if we don't have to wait for them to die, in many situations, we are making the decisions anyway. So do your homework. Spend as much time thinking about your philanthropy and what matters to you. And by all means, learn up, get educated, read up, find an advisor, have somebody help you. It can be as simple as writing a check, or it can be as complicated as figuring out how to live in a house that your family's had for 50 years and not pay for anything, and when the last family member dies, ensure that it goes to charity. There's a whole bunch, or receive income, or whatever. There's a lot of things between point A and Z. Plan, and don't miss that opportunity to take advantage of getting in the game. It's a contact sport, and caring about the things that you care about with your finances, as well as with your volunteer time.
So at Renaissance Pants, we have two newer styles of pants. The first one is called the GSDs, the Get Shit Done pant. And the next one I want to come out with is the Do Good Work pant. And I think it's at the core of who we are as women. We get shit done and we do good work, and we can show that with our time, our service, our volunteering, and our hard-earned money.